It's almost that time, beautiful people. Junto Nakatani daring to be great. Naoya Inoue also daring to be great. What an unbelievable fight. Let's get into it. Breakdown, prediction. Like I said, Inue, you gotta give the man all the credit and all the respect in the world. He didn't have to take this fight. You know, Inue, one of the greatest fighters, not just in our generation, but of all time, in the smaller weight divisions. You know, the man can do it all. One time he boxes you, one time he bangs with you, one time he's in the pocket. I mean, listen, the man can do it all. He's so powerful, he's so sharp, accurate. The precision of the man is unbelievable. And on the other hand, Junto Nakatani, he is more of a outside fighter, you know, likes to keep you at bay with his long arms, that right jab, southpaw jab. And his main goal is to end the fight and end the night with either the vicious left uppercut or the straight backhand, the straight left hand. You know, who's going to win this fight? Let's break this down. What will be Inue's game plan? Listen, I've been watching Inue's last few fights, and the man is unbelievable, like I said. How will he look to beat Nakatani? He's going to have to box Nakatani in spots, bang Nakatani in spots, but most importantly, he gotta close the gap and go to Nakatani's body. Nakatani, you know, we saw in his last fight versus Sebastian Hernandez, once you close the gap, he is not as effective. Now, one thing he did prove in his last fight, even though I had him losing the fight, he's one of my favorite fighters, but I gotta be honest here. I believe that he lost his last fight, but one thing he did show in his last fight is his toughness and chin. I mean, Junto Nakatani got an unbelievable chin. I have never seen the man wobbled. I have never seen the man out on his feet. I have never seen the man dropped. While you can't say the same thing for Inue, you know, Nonito Donaire hurt him, wobbled him, broke his eye socket, Neri dropped him, Cardenas dropped him. So Inue has showed, you know, more weaknesses you can say in his shield, in his defense, but his level of opposition is way better than Junto Nakatani's. So you can't really take much from both men's last few fights. Now, one thing that you gotta take in consideration is that most times, or every time Inue has been dropped, he's been dropped with the left hand. When you talk about in the pocket or when you talk about in mid-range. But also, you know, another thing that Inue does that causes him to get dropped is that a lot of times, you know, he rushes his shots and he squares up in close range, which results in him getting dropped more than once. Nakatani also, you know, once you close the gap with Nakatani, he is vulnerable. You know, Cardenas dropped Inue in close range. Neri dropped Inue in close range in the pocket. But I can't guarantee you that Nakatani will drop Inue in close range, is because that's not Nakatani's game. If anything, Nakatani is also vulnerable on the inside. You know, Sebastian Hernandez exposed that in his last fight. And yes, styles do make fights. So Sebastian Hernandez's style might be worse for Nakatani than Inue's style, even though Inue is a way better fighter than Sebastian Hernandez. But Sebastian Hernandez had almost all his wins by knockout. He is way younger than Inue. He is almost 8 years younger than Inue. And another thing, you know, Inue actually brought in Sebastian Hernandez for sparring in this camp. And Inue sent him home to the States early. And one of Sebastian's teammates, coaches I mean, said that Inue sent him home early. He didn't let him, you know, end the entire camp with him, is because they basically insinuated that Sebastian Hernandez was destroying everyone in Inue's gym. Inue wasn't the only one who sparred Sebastian in this camp. The entire gym of Inoue, around the weight class, they all sparred Hernandez. And, they basically insinuated that Hernandez got the best of everyone in the camp. That's not necessarily, a game changer, a game-changing news for this fight, but that also shows us that Sebastian Hernandez is trouble for anyone on any given night. And one thing we also got to take in consideration, Sebastian Hernandez coming into the Nakatani fight was undefeated. And yes, they did score the fight for Nakatani, but as far as I'm concerned, Sebastian Hernandez is still undefeated. He beat Nakatani in his last fight. And I'm going to be honest, Nakatani threw his best, most powerful shots at him, and not even once was Hernandez ever rocked or wobbled. So the man got an iron chin, crazy knockout power. The man goes to the body extremely well, and most importantly to the head. Now that we talked about both men's, weak spots, let's talk about Nakatani's game plan to win. I said that Inue needs to mix things up, but not Nakatani. Nakatani gotta keep this fight at bay. And not just that. Inue doesn't necessarily have problems with southpaws, but he is susceptible to that left hand. And all of Inoue's previous opponents, Luis Neri, Cardenas, who all had powerful left hands, none of them got the left hand of Junto Nakatani. Nakatani, throws that left hand like a shovel, whether you're talking about him throwing it as a hook, straight overhand, or even the uppercut. He almost it's very hard to describe the way that Junto Nakatani throws the left hand. And he keeps you, at bay with that southpaw jab. And once you want to get in on him, you got to take a chance. You got to risk it to go on the inside with Nakatani. And that is when he catches you and cleans you out. We saw that with Maloney. Knockout of the year 2023. In a year that was filled with crazy knockouts, Junto Nakatani won knockout of the year. Another thing we gotta take in consideration, Nakatani is moving up in weight for this fight. He's barely been at this weight class. Inue is more acclimatized, to the division. But Nakatani is naturally the bigger man. Broader shoulders, taller, longer arms, longer legs. Who's going to win this fight? Listen, you got to favor Inue. He's one of the greatest of all time. Nakatani hasn't proven anything at the elite, and I mean elite pound for pound level. But, I don't know, there's something about Nakatani for me. Every time I watch the man speak, every time I watch the man fight, even though I had him losing his last fight, but styles do make fights, and I just have this feeling that he might be all wrong for Naoya Inoue. The first time I ever saw Nakatani fight, I was like, this is the man to beat Inue. But after his last fight, I was like, he's probably going to lose to Inue. So will I stick to my old prediction, or will I judge this fight based on Nakatani's last performance? I'm going to go out on a limb here. Listen, Inue should win this fight. But even if Nakatani wins the fight, that shouldn't be much of a crazy upset, Both men are elite, both men are dangerous, both men are powerful, both men got something to prove in this fight. Who am I going to go with? I'm going to go with the underdog. For some reason, there's something about Junto Nakatani. I'm not going to switch my pick. I'm going to stick with him even though he got beat up in his last fight and lost. I barely gave him 3 rounds. But I'm going to go with my gut on this one. And I'm going to go with Nakatani. I don't know how he's going to win this fight. It is very hard to knock out Inue. We've seen the man dropped, but we've never seen the man completely out and done. He got unbelievable recovery skills, His ability to recover in no time is shocking. Both men can knock each other out. Both men can win by decision. More than likely, Inue will win by decision, but I'm going with Nakatani.